Hi everyone, I'm James and I'm here to give you a run through of the key parts of Armageddon, the new expansion pack for Plaguing the board game. Rather topically, I've actually got a bit of a cold at the moment, so apologies for sounding slightly ill while I'm talking with you. So, what do we get in Armageddon? There are a number of key things that we get. The first of which I'm going to talk about are genes. Genes are a way of modifying and strengthening your disease as you play the game, and they open up all new tactics and strategies. So here we've got a number of genes. When you start the game, you lay out a number of genes equal to the number of players plus 1. For the sake of variety, I've included 4 here, actually, just in this rather tortured example I'm going to give you. So let's say you're playing the game as normal, and then the first country dies. So let's say Sweden dies at this point. As soon as the country dies, you do everything that you normally would, but then after that, it's time for all the players to be able to choose a gene. And we have the genes that are laid out here. Every player is going to get one, but we have a gene auction in order to work out who is going to get to choose first. So the player who killed the country, yellow in this case, will look at the genes and decide if they want to pay any DNA to be able to choose first. Yellow might decide that it really wants to have the gene that gives you an extra evolution space. So it will say, I'm going to bid 2 DNA in order to choose first. Red might have also looked at these, and red might really like the idea of getting the gene that says if you have tied control of a country, only you have control. And it might be worried that yellow is also going to go for it. So red might say, well, you're bidding 2, I'm going to bid 3. And at that point, red would win the auction. So red would pay 3 DNA, and red would then take the gene that they wanted, and then they would place it on their evolution slide. Now, every player gets a gene, so we would then redo the gene auction with all remaining players. In this case, there's only the yellow player. So yellow doesn't need to bid anything because it's the only player remaining. It would look at all the genes and then take the gene that counts as an extra evolution space and put it down on its slide. Now, there's a huge variety in the number of genes, and it really changes the gameplay. There's 2 other ones here that I've taken out for us. This one says when you should draw an event card, you can gain 3 DNA instead. So you lose the power of having the event card, but you get a powerful DNA engine. And this one, it really rewards infectivity. If you can infect a country in 5 different continents, then you get 5 extra DNA during the DNA phase every single turn. Normally, if somebody gets this gene, everybody else works very hard to try and kill people off as quickly as possible. So that's how genes work in a nutshell, and it's amazing how much they change the game actually, and it really allows people to experiment with different strategies and focus on things that they might not normally focus on. Now, what should we look at next? Well, I wasn't really meant to show you the detail of all of the new disease types because they could still be changed. But however, as long as you bear in mind that this is all prototype at the moment, I think let's show you all of them. So Armageddon adds 2 new disease types to go along with the bacteria and virus of the original game, and these are awesome. So first of all, we've got the fungus, which is all about mobility and spreading your disease around the world. Its most powerful ability is the spore burst ability, which means that you skip the country phase and instead you draw a random country card and instantly put a token on it. Regardless of connectedness or climate rules or anything, you can just spore burst around the world really easily, which is incredibly powerful. However, fungus has fewer starting traits than other diseases. It only has 1 infectivity, which means that it can be quite a lot slower to get around the board and take over countries fully. Fungus also has another ability, which is the puffball. This lets it skip the infection phase to add 2 tokens onto this space. And then, next time the fungus puts a token in an empty country, i.e. here, if we're putting a token in an empty country here, it can also take the tokens from the puffball space and add them to that country, giving it an instant surge of tokens there. So that can be quite useful if you're struggling to get your infectivity going or you haven't got any good targets to infect. And the final ability that the fungus has is fungal bloom, and this says that every time fungus places a token in an empty country, it gains 2 DNA. So if somebody else has put down a card and hasn't infected it, that can be an easy source of DNA for you. The other disease type that we've got is the bioweapon, and the bioweapon is all about lethality and killing things. So let's just shift these out of the way so we can see them. A key design thing I was wanting to do with bioweapon was some people find having to deal with the death dice results irritating if it doesn't give them the number that they want to. So the first, bioweapon starts with extra lethality to make it easier to kill things, but it also has the Armageddon ability, which says that let's say that France has been fully infected by the bioweapon at this point. After rolling the dice, let's pretend it got a 6, the bioweapon can choose to pay 1 DNA point to add 4 to its lethality for that roll. Bioweapon starts with 2, plus 4 is 6, so the bioweapon has a guaranteed ability to kill a country each turn if it wants to, and then keep the country card as normal, get an event card as normal, everything else stays the same. However, the bioweapon can also struggle to infect countries easily because it has less infectivity. So that's where we've actually, let's just say they're in here, that's where we've actually given them the genetic targeting ability. This says that during the infection phase, if you place all your available tokens in the same country, you can place an extra token there. So if it's the bioweapon's turn now, it could choose to put 1 token in South Korea because it has 1 infectivity, but then it could also use genetic targeting because it's put all its tokens there, and it can put an extra token down. So this means that the bioweapon is able, if it focuses on an individual country, it's able to really power ahead and take over that country, but if it tries to spread itself more thinly, it can lose that infectivity bonus. The final ability for the bioweapon is terrifyingly powerful. Festering corpses. This allows the bioweapon to generate DNA on an ongoing basis from countries that it has already killed. So, how does it work? During the DNA phase, if you control at least 1 country, then the bioweapon scores an extra DNA point for every killed country that it already has. So if the bioweapon has killed 1 country previously, it gets 1 extra DNA point. If it has killed 2 countries, then it gets 2 DNA points. The only restriction to this is you can't score more DNA than you have lethality on your evolution slide. So until you add more lethality, you can't get more than 2 DNA a turn from festering corpses, regardless of how many countries you've killed. However, if we are to add a bit of extra lethality to the bioweapon, now it could in theory be getting 3 DNA a turn, if it has killed at least 3 countries. So what this means is that the bioweapon is really incentivized to kill countries quickly in order to get as much benefit as possible from festering corpses. However, combined with its relatively low infectivity, there's always a danger that the bioweapon can eradicate itself, which always causes amusement for the other players. But if left unchecked and combined with a lot of lethality, festering corpses can produce staggering amounts of DNA every turn in the late game, making bioweapon something to keep a keen eye on as you play. So that's a look at the new disease types that we're adding to Armageddon. We're also adding lots of other things which I'm not going to go into detail on now, but we're adding new event and trait cards. One of my preferred ones is the minor wormhole event card, which lets you take a country from the discard pile and put it back onto the world board. So if somebody got rid of a country that you had your eye on, like you wanted China for the largest country bonus, you can use minor wormhole to get it back and put it on the board. Another one we've got is friends with benefits, which lets you get a lot of DNA points, but you have to give DNA points to somebody else as well. And we've also got an anti-vaxxer card, which allows everybody to add new tokens into a country, similar to the Olympics event. So that's I think all I've got to really show for the key parts of Armageddon at the moment. I hope you found this useful, and I hope you'll enjoy playing Armageddon in the future.